Our first story features a woman who is no stranger to those of us here at CCN. Mindy was a summer intern here in 2003 when she was a college student. Back then, no one could have imagined the turn her life would take. Mindy met Derrick on the campus of Lycoming College in 2003. By the end of 2007, they were beginning a life together in Lewisburg.
We were both busy working full-time, and I was going to graduate school. And he started to not feel well. This was at the end of December, beginning of January. And he just kind of had this cold, flu that lingered on.
A trip to the doctor in late January was inconclusive, but some blood was drawn since Derrick was diabetic. The next day, he received the diagnosis: leukemia.
There's two different kinds of leukemia. There's acute myelogenous, and then there's another form called ALL, which is a little less aggressive, more slow moving. And unfortunately, the kind Derrick had was very fast moving.
Derrick was immediately admitted to Hershey Medical Center with a white blood count over 120,000. The average range is 4,000 to 6,000.
So the first night, they did a process called pheresis, where they put a catheter in his groin and they pumped his blood out of his body. And they removed some of the white cells before they could start chemo. They had to get it down. And so they got it to something like 50,000, his white blood cell count. And then the next day he started chemo right away.
7 days of chemotherapy were followed by a bone marrow biopsy.
At that point we learned that he was in remission, but that he would need a bone marrow transplant.
At the age of 22, Derrick was given a 30% chance of survival. The next step was to find a donor who was a 10 out of 10 match to Derrick. Unfortunately, there was a setback in that process.
Derrick had some different symptoms that were going on that were just kind of strange, and we knew something wasn't quite right. So we went back to his doctor and he had some tests done, and we found out that he may have relapsed. They immediately started chemotherapy again. We were preparing for the bone marrow transplant, but he couldn't have that not being in remission.
Just before the second round of chemotherapy, Derrick had the good sense to propose to Mindy. That was March 23rd. Once Derrick was in remission again, the search for a bone marrow donor could begin. At this point, Mindy decided to take action.
And I decided to organize, here in Lewisburg, we had a bone marrow drive. And my goal behind that wasn't really to find a donor for Derrick, because I knew the chances of somebody from around here being the perfect match for him was going to be very slim. But it was important for me to get other people signed up on the registry, because somebody I knew who would be Derrick's match would be because one of their family members or friends was going through the same thing, and they encouraged people to sign up.
More than 250 people came out and were added to the registry during Mindy's event. What most people don't realize is that the testing is completely painless.
Just to be tested, they take a Q-tip and they swab the inside of your cheek, and they get the cells from that and they send it away. So you can sign up at a Marrow drive, you can sign up online at www.marrow.org. They'll just send you a kit in the mail, you swab your own cheek, you mail it back, you're on the registry. A lot of people think, when you're donating bone marrow, they think drilling into the hip, doing that again. They don't do that anymore. Most people, most hospitals, what they do is it's almost like donating blood. You have a tube in this arm and a tube in your other arm, and they take the blood out, they just take out the marrow, what they need, and they return the rest of the blood to you.
It's the stem cells in a healthy person's blood that are required to help a leukemia patient jumpstart their own marrow again. Derrick chose to have his transplant done at Memorial Sloan Kettering in New York City. The positive outlook of the doctors there matched Derrick's own determination to beat his leukemia. He and Mindy spent most of July through October of 2008 in New York.
They completely ablate your system. You're down and out for a long time. He was inpatient for 28 days at Sloan Kettering, and then for 100 days we had to stay within a 50-mile radius of the hospital. So we actually lived at the Hope Lodge in New York City during that time.
Hope Lodge is run by the American Cancer Society, where patients and their families can stay for free during treatment and recovery.
I think that's when the whole process of foundation really started to, we got the idea. We just really wanted to give back, because we knew the kind of support and the love that we had from our families and our community, other people don't have.
As Derrick neared the 100th day after the transplant, the doctors discovered a benign tumor on a nerve behind his knee. They met with a surgeon to discuss the procedure.
We were in the office with the surgeon. They called and said, we needed to come over, and they told us that he had relapsed.
Even though the symptoms hadn't started and Derrick was feeling well, doctors said it would only be a matter of time before they recurred. Once again, Derrick and Mindy took action.
We decided, that we would get married, because we weren't supposed to get married till the following September. So with the help of our family and friends, we planned our wedding. We got married in 5 days.
The next day, instead of embarking on a honeymoon, they boarded a bus back to New York to begin an experimental treatment.
It was a pediatric clinical trial that they decided they would try on him, but they kind of told us right out that they didn't think there was a lot they were going to be able to do this time, because he relapsed so quickly after a bone marrow transplant.
The combination of transplant and chemotherapy was more than Derrick's body could handle, and his organs began shutting down. He passed away on December 6th, almost 3 weeks after he and Mindy were married.
Derrick and I had we talked about different plans of what we would do, but we never talked about, if he didn't make it, what would happen. So right. I was completely, I had no idea what to do.
Derrick kept a blog during the entire experience. Many of the entries, even at the darkest times, are positive and upbeat. Derrick's motto was "Fight on." That spirit was to become Derricks Legacy.
I remember laying in bed one night and I was like, I can choose to live my life 2 ways. I can handle it, or I can lay on the couch and not move. And just like he was a positive influence as he was going through it all, I decided that's what I would try to do.
In May 2009, Mindy and her aunt ran a marathon in San Diego and raised $10,000 for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. That fundraising experience solidified Mindy's commitment to establishing a foundation to help cancer patients.
I decided, I really need to make this idea come to fruition. Derrick, it really meant a lot to him. It really meant a lot to me. Because for me, as hard as the process was, Derrick and I got to do so many things together during his whole time of treatment. I was with him for 10 months, 24/7. He spoke at a black tie event in New York City. We went together we went to a World Series game. Just the time that we spent together and the memories that we made were incredible. And I think for me, I remember thinking, I don't want people to miss out on memories or time spent with a loved one because they can't afford to be with them or they have to worry about paying bills.
Mindy worked with a lawyer to set up DJD Fight On Foundation, a nonprofit organization committed to honoring Derrick Dull's legacy.
Our mission was going to be to help local adult cancer patients pay for living expenses, medical expenses, anything they might need.
The foundation has several fundraisers throughout the year.
We have 2 5K races. One's in Milton, and one is in Ephrata, which is in Lancaster County. That's where Derrick's family's from. That's where he grew up. We have a golf tournament in Lancaster County also, and that's kind of our huge fundraiser. I have a lot of fantastic people who help me with that. And then we also have it's called a beef and beer benefit at a restaurant in Philadelphia called Finnegan's Wake. That's our other fundraiser.
The first was a family in Williamsport that Mindy read about in the newspaper. Others have come from friends, word of mouth, and referrals.
We get referred from Hershey Medical Center. I work with their social worker, and she'll refer families to me who are on a need-based level.
To date, the foundation has helped 7 families. In talking with Mindy, it is clear why she recently was nominated as Inside PA Magazine's 10 Most Beautiful People. To have suffered such a loss at such a young age and come out on the other side with a positive, hopeful attitude is a testament to her strength, courage, and spirit. She and Derrick have already changed the lives of so many people, and through the DJD Fight On Foundation, they will continue to do so for years to come. When In Your Neighborhood returns, we'll meet America's ambassadors to hospitalized veterans.